Hello, I'm Chef Leanne. I live and work in the Florida Keys. We're still on the spiny lobster. Wanted to give you a little bit of information on this. Someone asked me what these were, so I wanted to describe. These are the horns on the front of the lobster that he uses to protect himself. He doesn't have any claws, but he uses these for feeling around. And then these little ones right here is what he uses to move and pick things up with. But these horns is his defense. So going back to my roots and growing up in the Florida Keys, I'm going to be making a simple Italian dish. I'm going to make a lobster, cherry tomato, and chef-made pesto sauce, and I'm going to serve over linguine. And then I'm also going to do my mom's homemade bread. So first we're going to start off with the starter to make the bread. Everyone always has a fear of it. It's easy to do, it's not intimidating, so I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible for you. So I have Rapid Rise yeast, 1 package. I have 1 cup of warm tap water. It does need to be warm at tap water. It can't be hot and it can't be cold. It has to be warm. And then in order to feed the yeast, I've got a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar. There's about 1 cup of each in here. And it's really just enough to feed the yeast. That you have to do that. And then I've got a little bit of the flour. And then I'm just going to mix this all together. And this is called a starter. And we want to make sure that the yeast is still good. So we're going to wait about 15-20 minutes, and this should bubble. And when it starts to bubble, then we know that it's good yeast and that we can go. If it doesn't bubble, then the yeast is dead. It only has a certain shelf life. So we're going to wait this out for about 15-20 minutes just to see if it's going to bubble on us. All right, so now that our yeast has gotten nice and thick and bubbly, it's ready to go. I've got 4 cups of flour that I'm going to add to it. And I'm going to use my hands. If you have a mixer, you could use a mixer. You know, I've never used a bread machine, so I can't give you any kind of advice on that. My mother, when she worked with me in the coffee house, every day she made the bread. And she made what she called a cheddar herb bread. And she created what we referred to as the cheddar bread junkies. People would come in every day just waiting to get that bread out of the oven. So this is the basic recipe that she used, but I'm not putting the cheddar or the herbs in it, but it's the same recipe. And the trick to this is you want to just keep adding flour until it pulls from the bowl. All right, let's get this on the board. This is great exercise for your arms. Now we're gonna let this rest for a little while, and we're gonna put it in the bowl, and it's going to double in size. So now that we have it in the bowl, we're gonna go ahead and let it double in size. We're gonna wrap it with a towel, and then we're gonna wait about an hour, sometimes 2, you can never tell, and we're just gonna wait for it to double, and then we're gonna knead it. The dough has doubled in size. I'm gonna take it out of the bowl, and we're gonna go ahead and give it a nice knead. You can hear the air bubbles popping. And then we're gonna form it into a nice baguette. Put the sealed side down. And now we're gonna put it on a baking sheet, and we're gonna bake it in the oven for about 20 minutes. You can score the top of it if you like. You can put olive oil on the top of it and put sea salt. You can do sesame seed, chopped dry garlic or onion, whatever you want. I'm just gonna leave it this way, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and put it in the oven. It's gonna take about 20 minutes to bake. So this bread came out beautifully. It's nice and crusty on the outside, and I'm gonna go ahead and slice it for you so you can see how nice and soft it is on the inside. When I'm doing private chefing events, everybody just goes nuts over the bread. As a matter of fact, I have to leave it hidden in the back of the kitchen, otherwise people will eat it and then they fill themselves up and there's not enough room for the food. So we wait until the final meal. But you can see how nice and tender and soft it is in the middle and crusty on the outside. Mama's bread. So now that my bread is done baking, I want to go ahead and make the sauce. I'm going to make a homemade pesto sauce, but then of course I'm putting my own spin on it. I'm going to go ahead and toast the pine nuts first. I don't want to get them too dark, I just want to get them to open up its flavor. So while those are toasting, I'm going to go ahead and put the garlic in the food processor. You know, the other wonderful thing about living here in the Keys is that you can grow a garden all year long. It hardly ever gets below freezing. So that would include your basil, your cherry tomatoes. You know, these would be the ingredients for a basic pesto. You can make pesto out of anything, but your traditional would be the basil, the pine nuts, and the garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and put a spin on it, and I'm adding a little bit of anchovy instead of salt. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my Calabrian chilies instead of using the dry chili, because I want a little bit of heat in my pesto. Pesto is really great for making ahead of time. You can jar it in these cute little jars, and as long as you keep olive oil on the top of it, this will last you in your refrigerator for 6 months, as long as you keep the oil on top. If you scoop it out and use it, make sure you pour new oil on top, and it'll preserve it. All right, so I've got some pecorino cheese. And now I'm going to add my olive oil. A little bit of salt. Well, nope, I'm going to skip the salt because I have the anchovies, but I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. All right, I think we're good. I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste here. Perfect. All right, now this is going to be the sauce that's going to go in the lobster cherry tomato pasta dish. All right, now that that is done, I've got my lobster tail. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the lobster. Give it a good chop. I'm going to do a quick saute in the pan. I'm not going to add any salt and pepper to this, because the pesto is going to have enough flavor for these ingredients. My pasta is almost done. All right, I think that's good. Now I'm going to add this fantastic pesto sauce that I just made. some reserved pasta water here. Let that cook down a little bit. All right, and I've got some cherry tomatoes. And I just need to cook this until it reduces. So our sauce has reduced down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add the pasta. A good quick stir. So this is a simple Italian dish with just a few ingredients. The pesto can be made ahead of time. It can be stored in your refrigerator. You can make a bunch of it ahead of time if you want. And then I'm just adding the Caribbean spin by adding the Florida lobster. This would be great for a date night if you want to impress your girlfriend or boyfriend. It's hard to screw it up. Other than don't overcook your lobster. And then in Italian recipes, you never add cheese when you're using seafood, so please don't add any Parmesan cheese. It's not necessary. The pesto will give it enough flavor. We go ahead and add a little bit of good olive oil. It's not cooking olive oil, it's a good grade olive oil. I'm just going to top it off with a little bit of pepper. And if you have a pepper mill, cracked pepper is even better. All right, and there you have it. It is Florida lobster sauteed with cherry tomatoes, homemade pesto sauce on linguine with Mama's homemade bread. So now that we've finished our dish, I'm gonna go ahead and have a glass of Pinot Noir. And you say Pinot Noir with a fish? All right, so I'm gonna tell you why. The pesto sauce that is made for this and it's got the cheese in it and the nut in it and the garlic in it, is going to pair really good with this Pinot Noir. So if you want to see more of me or these great dishes, Italian dishes with a Caribbean flair, I can be reached on my website, Clouds in the Coffee Catering, Facebook, Instagram, or if you're vacationing here in the Florida Keys, give me a call. You can either come here to my place, The Table, for your private event, or I can come to you for private chefing. I'd also like to give a shout out to Brutus Seafood for supplying me with the spiny lobster. And if you want them shipped to you, she will ship them through Florida Keys Seafood Shipping Company. Ching ching.
Hi, I'm Jo Grego with Island Breeze Vacations. Island Breeze manages vacation rental properties in Marathon, Key Colony Beach, and Grassy Key. We have everything from modest condominiums to luxury vacation rentals with views like this. We are locally owned and operated, and we want you to experience the Florida Keys like the locals do. To book your vacation today, call Island Breeze.